Hi, and thanks for watching our video abstract about a recently published paper. This paper comes from a longstanding interest Tyler and I share on this question of jobs versus environment. In the paper, we go through this longer history. Basically, you can trace this conflict back as far as you can trace environmentalism. And what we're particularly interested in is thinking about how universal basic income has the potential to rework this long-standing conflict. So universal basic income is a concept that you may have recently heard quite a bit about in the conversations around coronavirus. For those of you in the United States, Andrew Yang's presidential campaign very much raised the public discourse around this topic, but just to flag, it's a much more long-standing conversation. We also talk about how automation has the potential to really make this question even more pressing. We write about this in a different paper, so just to highlight that real quick there, that automation is going to likely intensify this ongoing conflict. So in the paper, we go through a number of approaches to the green economy and try to think through the extent to which universal basic income shares things in common with, pushes back against some of these core ideas. So we argue that universal basic income is not incompatible with most of the critical ways of thinking about environmentalism. And we're aware that universal basic income, certainly we're not proposing that it's a sufficient solution on our own, but what we're interested in is in the ways that it might complement or enable some of these more radical critical visions. So at its essence, what UBI does is disentangle the long-standing entwined relationship between labor and income. It improves the negotiating positions of workers by giving them an ability to live beyond and without work. So for myself, much of my thinking around this comes from my long-standing work around waste. There's a paper, another one to flag for you in terms of thinking about this sort of why we think work is so important and the moral value we place on it. For Tyler, his interest in pipelines, we see again where universal basic income might rework this conflict where workers are saying we want jobs, we want the jobs that come with this economic development, that universal basic income gives some possibilities to rework this dilemma. But we also think there's something more fundamental going on by introducing the concept of universal basic income and doing this disentangling between income and labor. We're interested in feeding into the work of Gibson and Graham, creating this new economic subjectivity and the possibilities of thinking of ourselves beyond what it is that we do for the economy. So our key argument here, which hopefully this has interested in you enough to read the slightly longer version than what we're able to do here, our key argument is that universal basic income has the potential to obviate our reliance on labor for income, and in doing so it mitigates this long-standing jobs versus environment dilemma. And for us, the curiosity is that this might enable new political, ecological possibilities. So again, we think universal basic income is compatible with many other green left platforms, although you often don't see it embedded within that, although that may increasingly change, and we're hopeful that we can contribute to making that change. The key contribution that UBI does is obviates that reliance on labor. And we think that this conversation, we wrote the paper before our current crisis, but it becomes increasingly relevant as we have seen just how much a crisis can create this incredible demand for basic cash. So it also, and again, in the paper we have time to elaborate on this, gives individuals greater ability to participate in democracy, more time, more freedom, more ability to do those green actions that are often quite time-consuming for creating new relationships and new subjectivities. Again, to reiterate, our idea is not that this is going to happen if we introduce a universal basic income. None of what we're saying here is an automatic. But that we believe that introducing universal basic income more aggressively into these leftist conversations gives us a way to rework this long-standing tension and imagine new possibilities and new ways of encountering these ongoing struggles. Thanks for watching.